Let the battle for Whiskey of the Year begin. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So today we are beginning what should be an epic journey. We are starting our 16 whiskey bracket tournament to determine what the best whiskey of 2024 was. So what we'll do, I announced my top 16 whiskeys of the year in a previous video, and all 16 of those are going into this bracket. We're going to break it down into 4 groups of 4. This is our first group of 4. There will be one winner from each of those 4 groups. We'll do each matchup blind, and then we'll have one final round with our top 4 whiskeys that have emerged from that, our final 4 if you will, and that will ultimately determine what the number 1 whiskey of 2024 was for me. So what do we have in front of us for round 1? We've got Little Book, Chapter 8, The Path Not Taken, a serious, heavy rye blend from Booker's with some pretty well-aged stuff. We've got an absolute favorite for the bracket, Russell's Reserve 15-year, 117 proof, and an absolute monster. We've got a controversial bottle that ruffled some feathers this year, 1924, 10-year-old Old Forester juice, thought to be maybe King of Kentucky reject barrels or didn't quite make the cut but ended up in this blend. We'll see if this stacks up to the rest. And then we've got kind of a sleeper pick. New Riff 8-year-old bourbon, one of the older stocks that New Riff has released, and I think it's a fantastic bottle for around $65. Curious to see how that does in this lineup. All right, without further ado, I want to keep these videos relatively quick, so let's dive into the full blind with these 4 bottles. I will put up on the screen what bottle I'm sipping on so that you guys can follow along, but of course I won't know the order. All right, ready? Let's dive in. Okay, one jump cut later and we are ready to dive in. We will call this one all the way on my right, your left, glass A, and then we'll work our way down to glass D on the end. All right, so starting with glass A on the nose. Very nice. Bright. A little bit of oak, but also a big cherry cola, vanilla pop to this one. Yeah, almost like a cherry soda. Bright, effervescent. A little something darker, maybe like a walnut. Yeah, kind of in that strain of nuttiness. But what I feel like is most prominent is that cherry vanilla core. Very, very nice, and some layered oak, but a pretty bright nose. All right, let's go into glass B on the nose. Whoa, talk about much darker. Oak. Little peppery. Brown sugar maple syrup kind of thing going on. Rich, dark cherry. Almost like cherry jam. But there's kind of a dustier, older, funkier oak here. Maybe a touch of like a blackberry, even black licorice kind of darkness to it. All right, let's go to glass C on the nose. Okay. Okay, so we've got some brighter candy-like characteristics here. Refreshing, like juicy apple, green apple, butterscotch. But then some darker tones like an oak core to it. So what initially struck me and why I kind of paused for a second was this does have a rye essence to it for me. I was wondering if the Booker's would stand out a little bit because it is the most rye heavy, pretty much all rye, and I have an inkling now that that's the Booker's, but it's very juicy. Okay, and then glass D on the nose. Ooh. Also oaky. Cherry as well here. Maybe a little more vanilla pop than glass B had, but this is definitely the second most amount of oak, rivaling glass B. A little bit effervescent too, kind of like glass A. Like a touch of that cherry cola thing going on, but much more of a really nice, middle of the road, welcoming oak and barrel char. All right, so that's a good first pass on the noses. What I'm gonna do now is dive into the palate. We'll get a lot more information, and then we'll go from there. All right, glass A on the palate. Cheers. All right, a little bit more pepper and spice to that one than I was maybe anticipating based on the nose, but it does have those brighter cherry vanilla characteristics here. That effervescence was what I was talking about, and it's kind of got that Pop Rocks effect on the palate. It's maybe a little thinner than I would hope, but I do get, again, that like big cherry vanilla, and then there's that oakiness, it's just got a strain of oak, not an oak dominant pour by any means, but definitely brings a strain of that gives it a solid backbone. I think the oak and the cherry and the vanilla are the stars here, with a really interesting mouthfeel. So I'm gonna get water in between each of these sips, so that might cause a little cutting or pausing between each sip, but I want to refresh my palate before we go to glass B. All right, moving right along to glass B. Kind of an oaky monster on the nose. Let's see how it holds up on the palate. Cheers. Yeah, that's a lot of barrel. A lot of barrel influence. Barrel char, oak, cherry for sure. But I feel like it's really leaning into its barrel characteristics there. Hard to tell exactly what the proof point is here. I think glass A was like pretty middle of the road, maybe somewhere in the 100 proof range. This one had a little more kick to it for me, but that could also just be that barrel spice, barrel characteristic coming through for me. Yeah, it's definitely oaky, and I feel like the palate really leans into that. All right, let me get some more water. We'll go on to glass C. Okay, glass C on the palate here. Cheers. Whew. Now that is spicy. Spicy in a totally different way though. And it's got some really interesting flavors. This is definitely rye forward. Almost like a kiwi citrus power to the center of this one, but wrapping around it is age. Is that oak and almost like a simmering dry spice. It's very like almost Jolly Rancher-esque with that kiwi citrus kind of experience. Gets my mouth watering, but I do think again it's balanced out by some heft and some spice and some backbone with some oak. All right, let's move on to glass D. All right, glass D. Yeah, that is brown sugary too, yeah. Syrupy even. Cheers. Yeah. See, I think that one has oak in spades, just like glass B. Super presence of age for me, but there's also this brown sugar pancake black cherry thing going on that I feel like there's a little bit more layers to it right now for me, which is very interesting, and it's very flavorful. All right, so I'm gonna have to go back in reverse order as always I do with these blinds, and then I'll do some A/B testing, but we'll cut through all of that for you guys. I'll give you a little recap of what I experienced and reveal my order. So let's fast forward to that moment. All right, everybody. That was a lot of fun. These are great whiskeys, but I do have my definitive order here. As we walk through it, I'll let you know how things have kind of unfolded. So for me, tonight, in fourth place was Glass A. It's very, very good. I really like the simple, sweet flavors that are kind of at the core with the cherry, vanilla, and the oak. The oak's really cool, and there is that walnut almost effect. It just felt a little thinner and a little flatter than the other three in this blind tonight, but it's very, very flavorful. And let's see what Glass A was. Okay, I kind of expected that. That's the new Riff 8-year-old. So 100 proof, very, very good for an 8-year-old bourbon. Just pales a little bit in terms of age and complexity compared to these other options on the table tonight. But the fact that I did not feel like it didn't belong in this blind is a testament. It's a great $65 bottle. Okay, so for me, in third place tonight was Glass C. This is super flavorful, spicy, but a little bit more jarring, and just not quite as sweet, and it didn't have as many age notes as the other two, but powerful whiskey, that's for sure. I have my guesses that this is the rye, and it did stand out tonight, but let's see what Glass C was. Yes, okay. That is the Booker's Chapter 8, Path Not Taken, the little book. It's really rye forward, and obviously that makes a lot of sense. It's very powerful. I think that in terms of just raw punchiness, it takes the cake tonight. But those rye flavors are a little bit more aggressive, and these other two just had a more pleasant, well-rounded experience for me. Okay, so this really was the main battle of the night. It was Glass B versus Glass D, both oak forward, both powerful. What did it ultimately come down to for me? Okay, so my winner tonight, which will reveal what's moving on and also what the second place is, my big winner tonight was Glass D. Ultimately, how I felt was Glass B has this prominent oak note, but doesn't have as many layers beyond that for me. Some vanilla and then some cherry, but the oak is beautiful. That's just the main star of the show. It's really, really good, but it kind of stops there and didn't have as much staying power. Glass D was the richer, darker experience, more brown sugar, got more and more pancakey with some black cherry, but also had that beautiful oak. Let's see what Glass B was. Okay, 1924, and that means our big winner, not really a surprise, Russell's Reserve 15. I will tell you something though. I spent the good first pass of this blind here thinking that Glass B very well could be the Russell's Reserve 15. The amount of oak that this 10-year-old bourbon has from Old Forester is exceptional. And something happened with Old Forester 1924 this year where the price point, almost double what all the other Whiskey Row products are, really ruffled some feathers. I think the quality of the whiskey has stood up. Throughout the year, it's done really well for me as I compare it to other things. And honestly, it was battling Russell's 15 tonight. Russell's 15 just had more staying power and over time revealed itself to be the true monster that it is. But 1924 kind of kept up the race in the early part of it. So if you've been sleeping on Old Forester 1924 or hesitating because of the price point or not sure because of mixed reviews, especially as this bottle's opened up and gotten, more time, it's become truly delicious. It just came up against an absolute freight train tonight in Russell's Reserve 15. Like this thing, it just gets better and better and better as you let it open up and as you continue to sip on it, which is exceptional. So Russell's 15, Not really a surprise, but it will be moving on into our final four of the year. We are going to do this 3 more times with our other contenders from the year, and then we'll get to our final four. Let me know in the comments below, did this unfold the way you thought it would? I think as a first round, this is a little bit how I expected it to go, but trust me, that's not going to be the case for all the others. Like, there's going to be some surprises and some upsets, and I'm excited for that. In any case, definitely join us for the next couple of videos in the series. Should be a lot of fun to track our favorites throughout the year and see as the final four kind of reveals itself. Thanks again for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button, and then if you haven't, please consider subscribing to the Bourbon Hutch and joining us for the rest of 2025 and beyond. It's going to be a great year of awesome content for you guys. Until I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey and cheers.